Welcome to another edition of the Football Forecast here on the Acadiana postgame show. I'm your host, Greg Larnard. All right, let's take a look back at our player of the week from last week. And this week I'm giving it to a defensive player, and it's Christian Guillory, outside linebacker for the Washington Marion squad, who's now 3-3. They got a big win at Westlake last week, 54-39. He had 16 tackles in this game. He was all over the field, had a couple tackles for loss as well. Man, he was incredible last week on the defensive side of the football for Washington Marion. There is our player of the week last week, Christian Guillory. All right, let's take a look at our first game of the week for this week in our high school football action. And it's on Classic Rock 105.1, ClassicRock1051.com, and the Classic Rock 105.1 mobile app. And it's St. Martinville versus Cecilia. St. Martinville, a perfect 6-0 on the season. Cecilia, 4-2. For St. Martinville, they had a big win last week against Livonia, and you had to look out for Travion Benjamin. My man was running wild last week, 326 yards. He's been a mainstay in that backfield all season long for St. Martinville. And their head coach, Vincent Derwen, said last week he can feel the confidence growing within this group and within this team. And sitting at 6-0, can't blame him. Said these kids are very, very hardworking. And on the other side with Cecilia, their offense has found a hidden gem in the backfield. And, you know, like Travion Benjamin, they've got a good running back as well. And it's Denarius Journay. He's been awesome this year for Cecilia, and they beat St. Martinville last year 28-14 in 2017. So, as we know, this should be a good matchup in 2018. All right, let's take a look at another matchup I'm looking forward to this week in high school football. Acadiana versus Sam Houston, a matchup of two 5-1 teams. This game can be heard on ESPN 1420, ESPN1420.com, and the ESPN 1420 mobile app. Acadiana, if you were following it last week, had a very tough loss to Como. They held a 24-0 halftime lead, and then the Spartans came all the way back to defeat the Wrecking Rams at the very end. And it was tough because it was on Ted Davidson night, but Acadiana is going to have to try to bounce back this week against a tough division or 3-5A district team as well. And Sam Houston, and as mentioned, Sam Houston 5-1 this year. They took it to Como a couple weeks ago, 35-8. And this team, they're looking to avenge a 70-0 loss at the hands of Acadiana last season. This team looks to be much improved and looking for a much different result this time around. All right, here's our final game, and it's our game of the week. It's Teurlings at STM. This game can be heard on KPEL 96.5, KPEL965.com, and the KPEL 965 mobile app. Teurlings 3-3, STM 5-1 on the season. Teurlings, they got a big win over Rain, and they needed it desperately to stop a 3-game losing streak. They won 40-14. Dane Chaponche, their head coach, says that this team needs to be a little bit more efficient offensively, and specifically in quarterback Samuel LeBlanc, who had a pretty efficient game passing the ball last week, but threw 3 interceptions along with 3 touchdowns. So in that respect, he needs to be a little bit more consistent and efficient for his young quarterback. And for STM, their offensive coordinator Shane Savoie recently came out and said that this offense, their attack, it's like an all-out blitzkrieg. And they destroyed Westgate last week, 71-20. Man, this is going to be a hell of a matchup this week. I cannot wait between Teurlings and STM. It's going to be on the road for Teurlings, so it's not going to be easy. But I think with this Teurlings defense, it should be a better one than we saw last year. And that's going to do it for our high school football forecast. Week number 7, can you believe it? We're already into week number 7 here on the Acadiana postgame show. I'm your host, Greg Larnard.